Hello and all, welcome to a Galaxy Man Show interview show. So for my very next guest of this week is this sensational actress known by the name of Laura Stetman. So I'm about to add Laura into the live now and have a chat with Laura about her sensational work and projects. So yeah, let's add Laura in and have a chat with Laura. Hi Laura, how's it going?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thanks. I just want to say first up, thank you so much for taking the time to join my show. It is such an incredible pleasure having you on today. To people that don't know who you are, Laura, if you can give like a bit of backstory about yourself first, and then we'll dive right into the questions.
Sure, yeah. So I'm an actress and I live currently in Orlando, Florida. But I've been film acting ever since 2019, but acting ever since I was really, really little. So I've done like feature films, commercials, and TV shows since doing plays when I grew up in Steamboat Springs, Colorado.
Awesome. So we'll dive right into the questions now, Laura. So for my very first question, so you were actually in 2021, you were actually in a film called The Connection, and you actually play the role of Vera in The Connection.
hmm
What was this whole experience like for you getting to be Laura and getting to film The Connection?
Uh, well, okay, the whole experience for playing Vera is in two words, fucked up.
Yes.
I'm just gonna be real with that. She's a very complicated character. I actually got inspiration from a relationship that I was in, where he was bipolar. And you just never knew when you were walking into the room, or when you saw him on a given day, what was coming. And it would just be like almost like a switch. I noticed there would be like a switch, and he'd go from like being okay and neutral to just like boom, way up there, or like down and be very, very sad. And when I first read the script, I saw that there were those kinds of switches. And I don't know if the director intended it to be that way, but when I first see a script, I kind of sit with it and I like feel out the character and I'm like, well, why would they act that way? You know, what is pushing them to feel that way? And I just saw Vera as this girl who's been through abusive relationship after abusive relationship, and you know that shakes a person. And the way that her dialogue was is like she would just snap. So because I'd been around that for a few months, I would say a good like 4 or 5 months, with the guy I was dating at the time, and then I wasn't dating him during the connection. Um, I was able to kind of recall that and bring that into her character. And that's not to say there's like things that are bad about being bipolar. I think the greatest thing about having something like that is that everything that you feel it 100% completely. And you just don't have that barrier of like, oh, well, I can't say this right now. You just kind of boom, go right into it. And that's how I saw Vera. She never really had a barrier. She just reacted, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So on to my very next question for you, Laura. So in 2021, also, you were actually in a film called Todd. What was this experience like for you, like getting to play the role of Amy in Todd? And yeah, what was this whole experience like for you?
So that one's really interesting because when the director first called me and said, "Why do you think that you should play this role?" which is a super bold choice for a director to ask someone, I said, literally, because everything you just said she's been through, break-ins, being stalked, bad relationship, all of that, I've actually been through. And he was like, no way. And I explained my situation, like everything that I've been through. And I was like, I can feel her on such a deep level. And the fact that she was trying to make it as an actress too in LA, and she made the mistake basically, in one of the scenes of like believing this guy who's a producer, a real producer, but she's willing to do anything to get the part, if you know what I mean. I never did that in LA, but I do know people who did. And I do know, like, when you're so starving to be that role, or you're so like just passionate about this and you're like, oh, this is my way in, this is my way in, you know, you believe people and you do what it takes, but sometimes you do it in the wrong way. And she gets completely crushed in that. So I was able to kind of relate to that as well, because not with a director, but actually with a relationship. I did everything I could to save that relationship and to be in that relationship. And it just ended up, crushing me to such a degree. And that's what Amy goes through in Todd.
I love that. So on to our next question. So in 2021 also, you were actually in a film called In My Heart. What was this whole experience like for you getting to play the role of Helen in My Heart? And yeah, what was this whole experience like for you getting to be on set and the environment on this film?
So this one was very different because it was actually based off of a real life person who has cancer. And this is about a mother who basically, it's a short film. They're going to make a feature, but in the short, it's all about Helen and how she's this busy mom. She's very focused on work, and that's really what her focus is. And then she arrives in this doctor's office and she gets this news, and it's about basically her reaction to it and how her life is going to be going forward. So it was interesting on that set because there were at least 3 or 4 people in the crew or cast who had someone who died from cancer or had that very same conversation. And so being around that kind of energy, it almost like synchronizes with you as a person, and then you just take it into the room when you go and they say okay and action. What's very interesting is that when I was playing her, if I had gotten that news, everyone takes it differently. In the script it was written that she breaks down and she cries and she's so upset. And, at first we had a little bit of an issue with that on set because that's what the director wanted from me. But I had to be honest and say, when I get this news, like when I get something like this, that's huge and heavy, it doesn't hit me right away. And so we talked with a couple of crew members and they said, let's just shoot it the way that the actress naturally reacts and let's see if that's not enough. And they shot it and they were just like, oh my gosh. So it's just kind of like, it's something to say to actors out there that just because your scene says that you break down and cry, you should always go for how you feel naturally, because that can be just as powerful.
So on to our next question. So you were actually meant to be in a film called Life on Paradise Beach, and you were meant to play the role of Mona in on Paradise Beach. What was like the whole experience like for you, even though you didn't, the film didn't come out? What was like the whole experience like for you getting to be on set and film for this?
So honestly, it actually never got made, but I'll talk about my experience. Whenever I get characters, especially when it's a drama-driven film or TV series, I spend months preparing, like months, getting to know them, getting to know their relationships, their life story. I think of it as being a very grateful thing because you're playing another person. That's essentially what you're doing. So when I got to know Mona, what she is she's a mom that's struggling, and she's struggling to survive, and she's homeless on the streets. Uh, she has a little son, and she's basically trying to do anything that she can to survive. When someone goes in and takes her son in, she gets upset because internally inside her, she's seeing everything that he deserves as her little boy that she can't give. So in preparing for the role, what I did is I actually took I bought myself like a little diary, and I just went in and so I sound like crazy, but I always kind of talk to my characters because they're a piece of me, and I'm like, okay, you pick the diary, and then I'm just going to pick the pen, and then we'll just write. And so every single day, whenever I got into the mind of Mona, I prepared by saying like, dear diary, today I'm pregnant and I don't know what I'm going to do. And I just got like so into it. And, I I built her life all before shooting, basically. At night, when I got off of my shift at Panera, because that's what I was doing, I was a delivery driver at the time, there was a homeless kind of area over there, and I would drive over there and I would literally I would watch them. I would watch them and I would like not imitate them. I'd literally just take it all in, and sometimes I would go over and I would talk to them. Then I would go home because I wanted to be on the streets in downtown Tampa, but I realized me as like just one person, probably not the safest thing. So what I did is I went home and I would set like an hour to 2 hours of my time. I dress in clothes that only Mona wore, and I would literally pretend like I absolutely had no home, and I just wandered around outside, and people would look at me so like crazy. I took like a can of soup and I sat behind a dumpster, and it was so weird because when you get in that space, you literally feel like you are homeless. You feel so much like that when people that I usually passed by in the complex saw me, I like hid. I was ashamed. And that's how into my characters I get, because you have to feel everything that they feel. And I did that for like weeks and weeks. One time I slept outside on purpose, and I was just texting the director because he was very much into what's your process, what are you doing, and he wanted to be like, let me go, but at the same time, he was very like on his actors about wanting to know their process, and so he could be prepared to work with them on set. And I was just like, I'm outside tonight, I'm gonna have my phone off from this time to this time, and he was just like, he was loving it. He's like, oh my God, yes, yes. But it got to the point where like anytime I had these old like little workout shorts, and I pretended that they were from Mona's boyfriend Tyler. And anytime I said Tyler, I would bawl my eyes out because he's the one that left her and didn't want to be a part of her being pregnant and having a son and everything. Now that's not written in the script. Again, that's like how far I go.
Yeah.
I like go far to really understand and like build this whole world. And it's crazy because when I found out it wasn't going to get made, I cried my eyes out because I never got to play her. And I did all this work in this diary. I did all this work in, preparing. I built this entire story. And when you don't get to play that out, it's like a huge part of you is being ripped out of you. And I remember calling my friend Kelsey and I'm like, I don't ever get to play Mona. Like I never get to play her. And I feel like I'm losing a part of myself. And it was just like so hard. And she was just like, I don't know what else to say other than maybe just talk to her as if she's there in the room with you and just say thank you so much for the experience. And so because of that, every single time I play a character, I always say right after I shoot, like, thank you so much for this experience.
Awesome, I love that. So, on to our very next question. So, you were actually in a film called The Zand Order. What was this whole experience like for you getting to be in the Zand Order? And yeah, what was like your favorite moment about this experience? And yeah.
Fantastic question. That was super intense because I don't know if y'all seen the Blair Witch Project and how that was filmed. It was intense from the start. The audition, I broke down and had a full-on panic attack because the director pushed me that far and wanted the character to go that far. Because she's like, I'm gonna push you hard and I want to see how much you can handle. And so when I got it, I was so excited. And then when she called and told me like the kind of premise of it, she's like, well, not only are you going to be in the woods and there's going to be 3 of you, and you're going to have to learn how to film, but you're the narcissistic one. So that's what she said to me. Like, you're the narcissistic victim. And it was hard for me because I had gotten out of another relationship, which was very narcissistic. So I'm agreeing to be the person, like the personality that put me down so much, I'm agreeing to play that. And I almost was like, I don't know if I can do this. I can play what I did in the audition, but I'm like, now she wants me to do this. And she just told me, she's like, you can do it. You can do it. And so I took it on. I got a book. I read all about, you know, she's like, you're gonna play the victim narcissist, which is the one that like cries to get their way, makes other people feel bad. Like they're not inverted, like outwardly putting you down and saying you're stupid, you're blah blah blah. But it's more like, you know, if everyone's talking about like they're going out to dinner or whatever, I want this, I want this, I want this. They're the ones that are like, oh, I don't have the money, so, you know. And then they get people to feel sorry for them, and that's how they get their power, basically. So I did a lot of I had to stay in that mindset on set. And then we filmed in Ocala, and that was for a week straight. And also there was no script, so it was directed very differently. So what she would do is she would have the premise of it is that there's this mother, and her daughter died like years ago, and she hires this like this tracker, and then she hires this amateur filmmaker, that'll be me, you know, to film the whole thing, to try and find this cult that she believes abducted her daughter. So when she does that, we're all out in the woods, and she's like, that's all you know about the characters. I'm not going to give you any more information. And what she did is she took us one by one, and she had prompts, and she would literally just show us little prompts of what we wanted in the scene, but we couldn't see the other people's prompts. And she said, just keep filming until you get what you want. It was the most unbelievable acting experience I've ever had, because nobody knew what was going on, and it like created fights, natural tension, because we never knew what was on the other person's paper. And then sometimes she would do that. She would give us prompts for the whole day, and she'd leave us out there. She would just leave us out there in the woods by ourselves, 2 cameras, and we would just walk with the cameras. We went to the point where we were so method that when we arrived, all of us had our character names on our doors. So we slept one time in the house, and we never knew when the other one was going to like die in the film, or we never knew. We just knew how many days we were going to shoot. We knew the characters we were going to play, but we didn't know anything about each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just like, it was just insane, and it was crazy. Like, and we full on slept in the woods outside by ourselves in a tent. We had to set it up. There was one time where I think the director literally took part of the tent, so that created like a fight because we were trying to set it up. And you know, I remember everybody was like fighting, and then because my character is the one that's constantly like up and down and crying, I just sat there and cried, and there was like, why are you crying, like this isn't helping. So it's just, we never ever broke character. And even after we shot everything, we can't even call each other by our normal names anymore. It's weird, like, because we never knew each other as like, oh, Laura, Justine, you know, and Anna. Like, I can say it now, but not during. Like, we were Morgan, Vex, and Jessica. That's who we were. Yeah. Even in our phone, that's what we still had. So it was quite an intense experience, and it was so scary because we never knew what the director was setting up. And she would just give us these walkie-talkies, and she'd be like, okay, ladies, get ready to film in 5 minutes. But she wouldn't say what was going on. So we'd be in the tent, and then all of a sudden we'd hear like a boom outside. We'd hear like something, like, and it would literally be startling to us because we had no idea what the fuck was going on.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was crazy, but all of us did not want to go camping after that experience because we were just so shaken and stuck in our characters. And I remember I got home and I started like filming myself on my phone because that was the only way I felt comfortable, because we felt so alone out there. We were not able to go anywhere else, you know, and also we were dehydrated. We weren't eating much, like only our snacks. And then one time the director would say like, let me get your backpacks. And then she fucked with that. So we'd open up and then our snacks had like maggots in it. So that would add like another level. Like she was fantastic with her directing, like fantastic. And she just pulled so much out of us, but it was a lot. It was a lot to handle. Like,
I love that. So on to my really next question, Laura. So like what made who inspired you to get into like the whole acting process in the first place? Like what made you decide, hey, I want to become an actor?
well, honestly, I've been pretending ever since I was really little. But if I'm gonna be like super completely honest, when I moved to California, and that was in 2008, I believe, I remember sitting on the couch watching Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, and I was like, I can do this. I was like, I can do this. I've done plays and stuff, but I always felt like I wanted to explore film. And then when I had that feeling of like, I can do this, I literally shut it off, went upstairs, went on my computer, and was like, I'm looking up acting schools in LA. And I did it, and I actually called the acting school that they went to. And it was like an experience I will never ever forget because I called them and I was like, hi, I'm Laura Stetman, and I want to go to your school. And there was just like crickets on the other end of the phone. And they're like, okay, uh, who are you? Like, they're like, who is this girl? And I was like, I'm Laura Stetman, and I want to audition for your school. And I just kept repeating the same thing. And they're like, how'd you hear about us, Laura? And I was like, I was watching Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, and
Yes.
I Googled Sweet Life of Zach and Cody actors, and I saw that they went to your school, and I want to audition. And they're like, okay, you have an agent? I was like, no. They're like, okay, you have a monologue, and I did not have a monologue, by the way, but I lied and said yes. And they're like, okay, be here tomorrow, 2:30. We'll see you. And I was like, okay. And then I like made it happen, memorized my monologue, got into that acting school, and I was absolutely like hooked. I got in the advanced class, and that's when I knew I knew I was meant for something different other than plays, you know. And I have to say that's true about a lot of actors. Sometimes plays are just they're just different, and film feels so much more real and connected. And I think that's just the type of person and actress that I am. So yeah, worked out.
Yes, awesome. Well, for my next question, so like if you could like have any dream role, what dream role would you want and why?
Let's see. Um, well, I'm very much into sci-fi, but there's this whole other part of me that grew up loving Disney and like Disney princesses and Disney characters, and I do voiceover as well. So if I could voice like for a Disney princess or a Disney character, oh my God, like it'd be amazing. It's on my list because I can sing too, and I don't have like that pop voice. I don't have the Taylor Swift, you know, voice. I have very much like musical theater, so I'm like, oh, that would play so perfectly like animated character. That would be like a dream come true for me.
Awesome. I love that. So on to our very next question. So what's your like favorite TV or movie like franchise currently that you've been watching and why?
Okay. What did I just finish? Let me think. I just finished a series. Um, I'm blanking on that one. I'll tell you right now, I'm watching Supergirl. I love
Yes.
Girl. I actually took inspiration for Vera when she like freaks out and goes crazy with her mind powers from Supergirl. So,
Actually, the actress of Supergirl, Melissa Benoist, actually appeared in Glee.
oh really?
Yeah, she started out in Glee season 4 and ended up in and ended season 5.
That is so cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I need to watch more of her stuff. I I love the whole premise of the show and what it's about. You know, a lot of it, the running theme in it is definitely like hope. It's
Yes.
always a lot of hope, and I love that too. Same with Once Upon a Time. So into
Yes.
that series.
Yes. Favorite character in Once Upon a Time, I have to ask.
Ooh, favorite character, Rumpelstiltskin.
Ooh, I have to say Captain Hook for me.
I met him actually.
Okay.
I did
Okay.
met him on. I worked on The Right Stuff.
Okay.
He was in the trailer, and so cool. Such a good.
I'm so jealous now. Like he's one of my like top favorites, and I'm like Colin O'Donnell. If you're watching, he's like top one of my top favorites. Yeah.
He was awesome. Very, very awesome. A guy who kind of like, he just keeps to himself. And he's very humble. Just not very much like Hook, but love
Yeah.
him as a person. So
Yes, I love that. So on to my very next question for you, Laura. So what advice would you give someone wanting to start out in the acting industry like yourself?
I would say go for it. And don't be afraid of not getting booked because you're going to get a lot of no's. You're going to get a lot of, oh, I didn't hear back from that person. But you have to always remember, I always like to tell people, like, remember, it's not so much about you, it's about the role and who's right for the role. So you should never ever be down on you because there's a reason why you weren't cast, but you will be cast in something else. And it's always about who fits the role the best. So just keep going, just keep auditioning. If nothing else, you always find out something more about yourself too along the way. I constantly doing so many auditions, and it's just think of an audition as like an adventure. It's like a little mini adventure you get to have like every single time. So that's what I would say.
I love that. So on to the very next question. So what are like the positive and negatives into the whole acting industry, and how do you get through those like negative moments as an actor?
Well, it's a lot of up and down for sure. Anybody will tell you that. Your career can go do, 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 and then it can go do, 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 and then it can feel like this, like nothing's going on, and it can feel like there's just absolutely, oh, I'm not hearing anything, oh, I'm not booking anything. And that's just the nature of the business. It's kind of like just being able to go with the ebb and flow of life. It's the same thing with acting. There are times where, like, I've literally booked role after role after role after role after role, and then after that, I mean, I'll still audition, but I won't be booking anything. But that's not the time to get super down on yourself. That's the time on just to, if you believe in things like God or the universe, like connect back to God and the universe, and connect back to what you need personally for you at that time, and just keep going. And also don't be afraid to step back from auditioning. I know a lot of people will be like, no, you have to keep auditioning. Like, don't be afraid to step back. There's a time and a place for everything, and that's something that I've learned. But you're never going to do your best if you're like, no, I have to keep going, I have to keep going, and you're in this burnout phase. That's never going to be good. So just know yourself, know your energy, connect to God and the universe, and then just let life kind of take you, is what I would say.
Awesome. So it's my very last question, Laura. So like what's next for you like project wise that's coming out that you can announce on the show for 2022?
Okay, well, I'm going to be filming the sequel for another plan for Outer Space 2. So it is it's I was not actually in the first one. I work with the director on American Bigfoot, and he's just basically taking a whole new cast, and he is just like structuring it in a way where it's almost the same story but a different kind of premise and a different location. So I'm pretty excited, and I'm playing a droid who's very like emotionless, in his words, emotionless yet playful. So I'm looking forward to like reading that script. I just got it sent. And I'm pretty excited about it. It's going to be like a nice action kind of film.
Yes. I love that. So I just want to say thank you so much again, Laura, for taking the time to join my show. It has been such an incredible pleasure having you on. Your vibe is amazing. I just want to say that. Um, do you like have any last final thoughts? Do you have like any last final thoughts that you like share to
Uh,
people?
Final thoughts. I guess if you're pursuing acting, I said this to someone else the other day. Always just remember to be truly, authentically you. Don't think about what does this person want, what does the director want, am I doing this right? Like those, that's just like no, they have to go. Like connect to basically who authentically you are. Be cool with that, and yeah, and then just keep going, ride the wave of life. That's what I would say.